Want to wow your neighbors with holiday cheer? I'm sharing how I made this 5-foot-tall yard decoration, shaped like a cozy gingerbread house for free with scrap pieces of plywood. Hey there, I'm Scott. Thank you for stopping by. I'm the owner of amzn.to, where I share easy woodworking plans and space-saving workshop solutions. You might have heard me mention my volunteer work at the local historical society in a few of my videos. One of our annual traditions is decorating the property's gazebo for Christmas. The other day, I received a text from Sandy, a volunteer who shares my passion for history and holiday cheer. We should tackle decorating the gazebo for Christmas on our next volunteer day. I had an idea, but it fell through. Any thoughts? Sandy's gingerbread theme for the museum's interior had me brainstorming, and as a woodworker, I couldn't resist the challenge. I opened SketchUp and began designing a nearly 5-foot-tall, adorable wooden gingerbread house to be the star of our outdoor display. I designed the gingerbread house so you could make it using pine boards. They're usually pretty cheap and easy to find at most home improvement stores, but I decided to go a different route. I had some T111, a type of plywood siding, lying around from a repair project. It was damaged in some areas, but too good to throw away. So instead of buying new wood, I ripped those plywood scraps into strips the same width as the pine boards. Since I was repurposing plywood with uneven edges, I used a circular saw and Kreg Straightedge guide to rip a square edge. I also used a circular saw and Kreg Rip-Cut to cut it to the correct width. You won't need these tools if you're using off-the-shelf boards. I used a sliding miter saw to cut the boards to length. If your miter saw doesn't slide, the cuts may exceed its capacity. Instead, consider using a jigsaw or circular saw and a speed square to make them. I used a trim router and a roundover bit to give the boards a rounded appearance, but you can use sandpaper if you don't have one. I attached supports with pocket holes to each side of the house to add stability. To assemble the house, I laid down a scrap piece of wood along the bottom to ensure the house section's alignment. Then, I cut pieces of scrap wood to use as spacers between the house sections. I attached most of the parts using a brad nailer, but you could use a hammer or screws and a drill if you don't have one. Using a compass, I marked the rounded ends for the trim pieces. No compass? No problem. You can trace a paint can or even a dinner plate for a rounded shape. To make the finishing process easier, I painted the house and trim before attaching it. The brown color, called root beer, was left over from painting my home's stairs, and the white was leftover ceiling paint. I made discs for peppermint candies using a drill press and a hole saw. I clamped a sacrificial board on my drill press to protect the bit from drilling into the table. Then, I clamped the workpiece to the sacrificial board. After painting them white, I placed the template, included with my printed plan, and used a stipple brush to transfer the design onto the discs. As I mentioned, we plan to display the gingerbread house at our Historical Society's gazebo. Because we can't fasten it to the gazebo's floor, we'll attach it to an old pallet with screws. You might consider a similar approach for your yard, or you could secure it to a few metal fence posts. This gingerbread house looks good enough to eat. No baking required. Made from scrap wood and painted with festive colors, this adorable yard decoration will have passersby doing a double take. To get your copy of this plan, please visit my site sawzonskates.com using the link in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. It's one of the best ways to support my building plans.